After logging in, you have this Cloud Labs option, and here we'll be following AWS Labs and we'll be sticking to the first access and tour to AWS Console Lab. So I'll quickly start this lab, and while it is starting, we can look into the overview. So the overview, basically, this AWS lab is provided for practicing logging into AWS. Once logged in, students can navigate through the AWS console on their own to get themselves familiarized with the AWS console. By the end of this lab, you'll understand how AWS console looks, know how to search for various AWS resources, and understand various AWS resource locations and how they are categorized. What will you learn? You'll log into Management Console, navigate through the console, choose a region, and see multiple services offered by AWS. So I'll click on Open Console. After clicking on Start Lab, our credentials for AWS will be generated. It will start the lab. Once the lab is started, you will be provided with the IAM username, password, and login URL. You can see the username, password right here, and the login URL basically you get by Open Console. So we clicked on Open Console. AWS Management Console will open up in a new tab, the same way it did for me. On the AWS sign-in page, the account ID will be present by default. This is the first ID, which will be there by default for everyone. And after that, we can leave that account ID as default. We do not have to remove or change the account ID, otherwise the lab process will not run. And we'll use the same IAM username and password into AWS console that is generated on this quick skills dashboard, and we'll sign in into the AWS console. So you can see in the username, I can copy this username. I'll paste the username. After pasting the username, I'll do the same thing for the password. I'll copy the password. I'll paste the password. After doing both of these things, I can just click on sign in. You don't have to remember this account as this is a temporary account, and you do not even have to save the password of this account. So after we sign in, it will take us to the AWS Management Console, the same one which we were looking at. So let's just follow the steps and see what we can find out, right? So first of all, we have selecting region. After starting any labs, validate the region. Your region should be North Virginia, otherwise you will not be able to create any resources in any other region. To change the region, navigate to the top right corner of the console and click North Virginia. So you can see at the top right, we have this North Virginia written over here. What that meant is, for this lab, you'll not be able to create anything in any other region. But for general, if you want to navigate to any other region, what you can do is, in your own accounts, you will be able to click on North Virginia and select any of the regions you want to go to and then deploy your resources. For example, just to rent a computer or to basically set up a launch a virtual machine, you can just select the specific region you want to create your virtual machine in, and after selecting that region, you can find that specific service for launching the virtual machine and launch it. In our case, we can just go around. If we want to select Mumbai region, we can select Mumbai region. We have the same way Singapore region, Seoul, Osaka, North California, and so on. So you can navigate through these regions by just selecting the region right here. After that, it is asking us click on the Ohio region and see if you are able to change the region. After changing the region, you will not be able to see the resources created by you in the previous region. To see those resources, you need to navigate back to the previous region. What this meant is basically right now I'm in North Virginia region. If I deploy a virtual machine, if I rent a computer on the cloud in this specific region, I'll only be able to see that computer in North Virginia region. If I change my region to Mumbai, or for example, according to the lab in Ohio, if I select Ohio region, I'll not be able to see the same rented computer now on my console. To again see that same computer, I'll have to be in the same region in which I deployed it, launched it, or rented it. So you always have to validate that which region you have deployed your resources, and only in that region you will be able to find the same resource. For example, if I deploy my resources in Mumbai region, I'll only be able to see those virtual machines or my resources in that specific region. If I go to North Virginia, I'll not see any resource which was created in Mumbai region. Other than that, you have the option to explore AWS Console. AWS Management Console is a web application that consists and refers to a complete collection of services consoles for managing your applications. When you log in, you see the console homepage. Once logged into your AWS console, look around to explore what the homepage has to offer. From the mark on the top right corner, you can change the AWS region. You can click on services to see the services offered by AWS like EC2, Lambda, S3, RDS, etc. These are just names of AWS services. The same way it is asking us to open a service like S3, click on S3 under storage services. So before doing that, let's just head back to the same management console. We can go back to North Virginia. And from here, you can see this is where you select the regions. On the right of the region selection, we have the user ID, which is showing us our account ID and the user which we logged in from. The same way, you have sign out option right here. You have settings option here as well. Other than that, you have on the top left side, the services option. You can click on the services option. When you click on it, you will find that all the service categories are listed here on the left side of the services menu, which includes analytics, application integration, AR and VR, AWS cost management, blockchain, business application, and so on. With the categories which we talked about before were compute, which includes all computational resources. Then we have database. Then we have management and governance. The same way we have storage and security, identity, and compliance. Also, we have networking and content delivery. So for example, if I click on compute, when you click on this category, this opens up on the right side and shows you that category's name and all the services that are based on that category. So all the services which you see here are services which run on compute based on virtual machines. We have this service called EC2 here, which is virtual servers in the cloud, which is the one of the most used service to launch virtual machines on the cloud. Those virtual machines, virtual servers are also called as instances. So on the left side of every service, you can see that star option coming. So if I click on that star option, it allows me to favorite a service. When you favorite a service, you'll see that service will pop up on the top of the management console only. The same way you can favorite any other service as well, and it will show up right here. Now what it is asking us to do is to open a service like S3. Click on S3 under storage service. There's the service called S3, and to basically open it, this we'll have to select the storage category. Under that storage category, we'll find all the services which are based on storage. So for S3, S3 is nothing but scalable storage in the cloud. It allows you to have unlimited storage in the cloud. So to open that, we can just click on S3. By clicking on S3, it will take us to the S3 dashboard. Right now we are on the S3 dashboard. Anything to do into S3 service can be done through this dashboard. Now, right now we do not have any experience into Amazon S3, so we'll not look into it too much. But what if you want to get back to the management console? You just don't click on back. We simply have this AWS logo on the top left. By pressing this, this will take you back to the AWS console home. The same way, we can navigate through any other service which we want to. If we want to create a database, we can check out these database services. If we want to run some specific NoSQL database, or if we want to run a managed relational database, for that, we have different services. According to our needs, we can select the service and then deploy our resources into that service. So it took us to the Amazon S3 dashboard where we were able to see bucket settings, networking, etc., which are some settings of that S3 service. Also the same way, we can, to see EC2 console, we can click on services, then click on EC2 under compute, navigate around to see all the features available. You'll not have access to any resources for creation in this lab. So for now, we can again just click on services anytime. We can click on this compute and we have EC2, the same virtual servers in the cloud. I can click on EC2. This will now take me to the EC2 Management Console or the EC2 Dashboard, where everything related to EC2, everything related to virtual machines can be created. So we have this launch instance option. An Amazon EC2 instance is nothing but a virtual server in the cloud. You can call the virtual machine or virtual server as EC2 instance as well in AWS. So you can again click on AWS console to head back to the management console. And now what we can do is we can sign out of AWS account. And once you have completed the lab, click on end lab from your learning dashboard. When we are done, then we can click on this end lab button. For the conclusion, we have now successfully logged into AWS console. We have navigated around in AWS console and understood the features available. We have searched for AWS services and navigated to the AWS resource page. That is how you basically navigate your way around the AWS Management Console. You also have the search option where you can search for any specific service you want to. If you're not willing to find the specific category, for example, you need to look for some service, for example, S3, and you do not know in which category S3 is, you can simply search for it as well. If I write S3 here, it directly shows me the services which are similar to S3. First, it shows S3, S3 Glacier, and so on, different S3 services, storage services. So that is how you navigate your way around the AWS Management Console. And it also shows you the recently visited services on the top. It also shows you a welcome to AWS page where it says getting started with AWS. It allows you to learn the fundamentals and find valuable information related to AWS to get the most out of AWS. It also has training and certifications to learn from AWS experts and advance your skills and knowledge. And there's this what's new option as well, which will discover new services, features, and regions. This is similar to what we talked about when we were talking about the reInvent conference, which is done by AWS every year. So that is pretty much it for this lab. We can click on the top right on our username and we can click on sign out. After clicking on sign out, it will take us back to the AWS default website, and here it is giving us the sign into the console option. And we can, the same way, click on end lab and click on end lab once again. So we have successfully logged into the AWS console, navigated around the console, understood the features available, searched for AWS resources, and navigated to the AWS different resource pages. So that is pretty much for the access and tour to AWS console lab. In the next sessions, we'll continue with Amazon EC2. We'll get to learn what Amazon EC2 is, and we'll be doing a very simple EC2 lab where we will be creating a virtual machine on the cloud. So thank you for joining.